Hi there, my name is Richard McMunn from the interview training company passmyinterview.com, and in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to answer behavioural interview questions specifically for managers. So if you have a team leader, a supervisor or a manager's interview coming up, you are going to get asked a number of behavioural interview questions. So in this tutorial I will teach you how to answer those questions so you gain the highest scores possible. So it does not matter what kind of manager interview you have coming up, please do stick around and watch this from beginning to end because you're going to find it of great use in the preparation for your interview. Now, before I get into those tips, the tutorials, and also, more importantly, those behavioural manager interview questions and answers, a very warm welcome to this tutorial. My name is Richard McMunn. I am a former fire officer. I now help people to pass their interviews, and I do that specifically by giving you top scoring answers. Please do subscribe to the channel by clicking the red button below the video, and I would also very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like. That always motivates me to do more. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn description to my profile is in the description below the video. Now, what are behavioural interview questions? As I said at the beginning, if you are applying for a manager, a team leader or supervisor position, you will get asked a number of behavioural interview questions. And in a nutshell, they assess how you perform in specific situations that are aligned to the job that you are being interviewed for. So what do I mean by that? Well, behavioural interview questions basically assess your ability to perform the key duties of a manager effectively and competently. So those key duties might be managing and leading staff, so they want to hear examples of when you've previously done that. Also, when you've worked under pressure, because as a manager, as you and I know, working under pressure is all part and parcel of the job. You have to do it on a daily basis, work under pressure. You also have to turn around underperforming teams. So you're responsible for their performance. You have to deal with conflict in teams and also conflict outside of a team environment. You have to take responsibility for your own self-development and the self-development of your team, and also have to achieve difficult targets. So those are examples of the duties that you would have to do as a manager, and you will be assessed against those and other areas during the interview by way of behavioural interview questions. So behavioural interview questions always start off with something like, describe a time when you dealt with a difficult client, or describe a time when you turned around an underperforming team, or tell me about a time when you led by example, or tell me about a time when you utilised effective leadership skills, or explain a situation you were in where you facilitated excellent customer service, or something like that. So whenever you hear those interview questions that start off with describe a time, or when have you done this, or explain a situation, that is your prompt. It tells you this is a behavioural interview question, and you have to answer it in a certain manner to gain the highest scores possible. So how do you answer behavioural interview questions? Well, those people who subscribe to my channel and you've watched many of my tutorials before, I talk about the STAR technique, which is a brilliant format to use when structuring behavioural interview question answers. And it follows the format of situation, task, action, and result. So as soon as you hear any of those questions, describe a time, explain a situation, that's your prompt. So you think, okay, STAR technique. Now you will have already prepared your answers to the questions because you're going to be smart and you're going to pass your interview. So that will be your prompt to start off and say, okay, the situation I was in, and then you explain the situation. You then move on and talk about the task. So you describe the task that needed to be done. You then move on and explain in detail the action that you took. And I would suggest that the action part of your answer to the behavioural interview question will be the most in-depth element. And then finally, you finish off where you reveal the positive results of your actions. So the result has to always be positive. It was a happy outcome. Okay, so situation, task, action, result, and that's the best way to structure any behavioural interview questions for managers. So let's have a look at some behavioural interview questions and answers for managers. So the first one, when have you led by example? So we need to give a specific situation that you have been in. So here's my suggested answer. I can remember being in a meeting at work where we were supposed to be putting forward our ideas for the launch of a new product that was due out very soon. Now, unfortunately, our senior manager, who was also the chair of the meeting, was stuck in traffic and she was going to be about 40 minutes late. Now, everyone in the meeting room saw this as an opportunity to relax and make idle chat about what they got up to at the weekend. However, I decided to lead by example and suggested we all start working on putting our product launch ideas together so when our manager eventually arrived, we could save time and provide her with one collective presentation instead of her having to sit through many different ideas. So we then spent the next 40 minutes collating all of the best launch ideas, and once she arrived, I presented her with a short 20-minute presentation, which she appeared to be very impressed with. I feel I'm someone who would always lead by example and can be trusted to act professionally within this role if I'm successful. So that's a great example of when you've led by example. Everyone else is just messing around in the meeting. You're like, actually, we can make better use of this time. And that is a perfect example of leading by example. Next question. Tell me how you would deal with a member of your team who wasn't pulling their weight. So a very common managerial interview question. Very, very common. Some managers can't deal with team members who aren't pulling their weight. So this is an assessment of your authority, but also what you would do in that kind of situation. So again, it starts off with that behavioural. Tell me about a time, and you have to give a specific situation you were in. So here's my sample response. I believe as a manager, it would be my responsibility if someone was not pulling their weight, and on that basis, I would rectify the issue immediately before identifying the root cause of the problem so it didn't happen again. Now, first and foremost, I would sit down with them as soon as possible to make them aware their underperformance had been noted and that it wasn't acceptable. I would then ask them to explain the reasons for their underperformance, and it would be important for me to establish the cause, as there could be a number of reasons for them not performing well at work. It may be they are not feeling motivated, or perhaps they were having problems in their personal life. But either way, once I'd established the cause of the issue, I would then agree with them a resolution to get them back up to speed as quickly as possible. I would make sure I provided them with the correct level of support needed and also further training to assist them during the process. I would then also agree a deadline whereby they had to get back up to speed quickly. Now finally, as I said at the start, I would identify the reasons for the underperformance so I could put the necessary steps in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. So that is a great logical and intelligent response to that question. It's specific in nature and more importantly, it's very detailed. Now because you are applying to be a manager, it's my view that you should give in-depth responses, okay? And you'll see all of mine are in detail and you're covering all of the different angles that are possible. Now, if you want to download a copy of these, I'll tell you very soon when you can get a full copy of these and other managerial behavioural interview questions and answers. Let's move on to the next one. Tell me about a tough decision you had to make. So this is a hard question. When have you had to make a tough decision? So we need to be able to give a specific scenario that you've been in where you had to make a difficult decision, because this is demonstrating your ability to lead and manage people. Here we go. Now, I was managing a team of people and an opportunity came up for a temporary promotion within the organisation. A member of the senior management team approached me to ask who I recommended should get the promotion from within my team based on their ability. Now, one senior member of the team who had been with the organisation for many years was keen to be promoted, and I had considered putting him forward for the promotion. However, there was also another younger member of the team who'd only been with us for 18 months, but she had excelled in the role and had consistently gone out of her way to add real financial value to the business. I decided to put her forward for the position, as opposed to the more senior member of the team, simply because I knew the organisation would benefit more with her in the role. Now, although this was a tough decision to make, and the more experienced colleague was clearly not happy, I knew it was the right thing to do for the good of the organisation. So that's great, because you're showing that you are putting the organisation first, which is really important. So you are putting aside any relationship that you have with staff, any loyalties, and you are putting the organisation first. That is very, very important as a manager. Now, I've got two more questions to run through, so please do stick around. But there's a link that's appeared right there in the top right-hand corner of that video. If you want to download my full set of behavioural interview questions and answers for managers, please click that button and you can go through to my website where you can download the lot. Next question, when have you used effective leadership skills at work? So this is assessing your leadership skills, because being a leader and a manager are different things. So here we go. I can remember being part of a team in a previous organisation, and it was clear that a number of team members were not working as hard as they could have done. I felt it was my responsibility to raise my concerns with the team with a view to improving the performance and the output of the team as a whole. I called a team meeting, started off by asking if everyone was satisfied with how we were progressing. Two team members raised concerns about the lack of productivity, and I used this as an opportunity to encourage everyone to talk openly about the problems. After a few minutes of open discussion, it became apparent that some people felt ill-equipped to carry out their roles properly due to a lack of training. I then went away and raised these concerns with the company directors, who in turn facilitated the appropriate training for those team members who needed it the most. I feel I'm someone who can recognise problems and issues within a team and would always utilise effective leadership skills in the role of a manager. So that shows that you can lead by example, you can lead a situation, you identify it as a problem and you facilitate it being resolved. Next question. Describe a time when you found it difficult to get a team to accept your ideas or agree to your direction. So this is assessing your ability to persuade people, to negotiate with them, to basically sell your ideas. Because when you put forward ideas as a manager, and I used to be in this situation in the fire service when I was managing fire stations, and I'd have an idea, whereas in my mind I would think this is a brilliant idea, and you tell everyone, and they sometimes sit there and look at you and you know they're not convinced. So it's then your job to convince them, because you can't move forward as a manager unless your team are on your side. So this is assessing your ability to do just that. Here's my suggested answer. Whilst managing a team in a previous role, I came up with an idea for making the customer service experience more efficient and engaging. Now, my idea focused on contacting each customer immediately after each purchase has been made with a customer satisfaction survey. Now, every customer who completed the survey would then receive a 20% money off voucher. Now, initially, the team didn't see this as a good idea because they felt it would encourage people to share the money off vouchers online. And I went on to explain to the team that it would not matter if the vouchers were offered out online, because this would simply mean we would get more customers to buy from us, hence casting out our net further afield. I also went on to explain the more important benefit of the customer survey satisfaction being completed, which would allow us to improve the levels of service we currently offer. This, in turn, would allow us to ask those customers who enjoyed a positive experience to leave a review for our website and Trustpilot, which itself would lead to more sales and revenue. Eventually, the team agreed to my new proposal, and we all set to work implementing the new changes with a positive and enthusiastic manner. So that shows that you've got an idea and you have to persuade them and basically explain your ideas in detail, and the most important part is outline the benefits. That's really, really important. So if you want to download all of my behavioural interview questions and answers for managers, you can either click the link below the video or go to my website past my interview. It will then take you through to this page where I've listed all of them and you can download them for a small fee. So there's also some tips here on how to structure behavioural interview questions for managers. Please do read those. If you've got any questions, please stick them in the comments section below the video. Also, let me know what interview you've got coming up, which managerial one, and I don't mind giving you a few tips on in the comments section below the video. Thank you for watching. I love making these videos for you. Hope you've enjoyed them. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you very much. I hope you have a brilliant day, and I wish you all the best in your pursuit to passing your manager interview. Thank you very much for watching.